What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Nzuki podcast. I'm Nzuki, and today I want to talk about survivorship bias in the entertainment industry. So just before I get deep into this topic, I want to take you back to the Second World War. So during the war, when fighter jets were coming back from the battlefield, engineers noted that there are specific areas that were hit a lot by bullets. And engineers suggested that we should reinforce these areas before we send these fighter jets back to the war, back to the battlefield. But one mathematician, Mr. Abraham Wald, noted something brilliant. That we are only looking at the planes that survived, but we are ignoring that it's possible that the planes that were hit or that were destroyed during the war may have been hit in different areas. And that's how the concept of survivorship bias was born. And today I want to talk about this bias in entertainment fields. So when I talk about entertainment, I mean so many careers, including content creation, social media content creators, I mean music, even sports entertainment. And there is a lot of bias when it comes to these fields. And the bias comes from the fact that the top people in such fields are spectacularly successful. If you look at the top people in music, are extremely successful. If you look at the top people in sports, are extremely successful. If you look at the top YouTubers, they're extremely successful. And so there is that bias that comes to such fields, because when people are extremely successful, they are also very visible to the public. You know, they are visible to everybody because of their success. And so it's possible to look at that and think that it's very easy to succeed in such fields. But if you are to look at music, you realize that there are a lot of people who have tried to do music. There are a lot of musicians across the planet who have been doing music for so long, but they have never really made it. And so by looking at such musicians, it's so easy to think that anybody who tries such a thing may be successful. But we are only looking at a very small percentage of people who have tried a particular thing. For example, research shows that only less than 5% of YouTubers make enough money to survive. When I mean survive, I mean livable wage, something that they can do as a full-time job where they don't need another income to survive. Let's make that enough money for that. That's just YouTube. And so that means over 90% of people who make YouTube or who make YouTube content or YouTube videos, they don't make enough money to survive. But when you look at the people who make a lot of money on YouTube, they make a lot of it. And so it's so easy to look at that group and assume that it's a very lucrative thing to do. So when I say 95%, I'm actually included in that list. You know, very few people on YouTube will make that enough money to have a livable income. And so it's very, very important to understand the survivorship bias in many careers. So it's easy to look at content creators, and actually if you look at the content creators who are successful, they actually do a lot of, they work hard, they make great content, and that's actually how they have been able to make it. But because as humans we are trained to only look at the success part, you know, the winning, we don't really look at what they had to do. We feel like if we just got in, we should also just succeed like them. But it's also important to understand, as you look at the group that really survived, as Mr. Abraham Wald advises, you have to actually investigate those who did not make it. Because look at the ones who did not succeed. Because you can also learn a lot, not just from the successful ones of the winners, but also from those who failed, those who did not make it. The same with music. You can still look at music and realize that not everyone who has done music has succeeded. A lot of them have done music and they never made it. That is to say, that bias exists a lot. So for me, I work in the tech industry. I'm a software engineer. And in the past few years, I've noticed that a lot of people have come to believe that there is a lot of money in the tech industry. So if you're a software engineer, you should be immediately successful. By just being in that field, you're supposed to be successful. And sometimes you don't even want to tell people that's the field you are in, because when you tell them, they immediately assume you must be really successful. Or if you're not successful, they wonder, why are you not successful? And yet you are in this field where everyone makes a lot of money. You know, you may have heard of that term, tech bros. You know, when someone says a tech bro, you immediately assume it's someone who works in tech who is extremely successful. But that is not usually the case. You know, there are a lot of people who work in this industry who have done computer science, or they have done cybersecurity, they have done networking, and you realize they are just a normal career. Not everyone is making that extremely big money in this industry. I'm not saying there are not people who are making a lot, but what I'm saying is it's possible if there is that bias in any industry whereby there is a section of people who are extremely successful, like the tech industry, the music industry, and mostly other entertainment fields. You can even see this thing in sports. You know, they are the top athletes in various sports. Like, you know, you look at NFL, you look at MLS, you look at NBA, you look at the Premier League. You realize they're extremely successful. But there are a lot of people in these sports who don't actually make that much. You know, it's actually, they can't even survive with that career. They have to find another job. So that bias is very common when the top people make a lot of money. You know, when the top people make a lot of money, we usually have that bias. But it's always important to understand, as you look at the successful people, and I'm not trying to be a pessimist, I'm just trying to be realistic. You also have to look at the ones who don't make it, the ones who fail. If you're going to make, let's say, a career decision, I want to do music, I want to do this. If you're doing it solely for money, and your data is just the top 1% or the top 5% who are making all the big money, then you have to be careful, because you may end up making a mistake thinking, I'm going to get in and just make a lot, and you may not. So it's good to be guided by passion. So if you look at the top people who are doing well in these fields, you realize they're actually very passionate about this, and their work, their creation, if they're making music, they're making content, you realize they're not doing this for the money. They just did this because they loved it. And when you love something, you can do it even when you're not making money. Because even if you look at many musicians, they made a lot of music before they even got a record deal. And so their success was not because they just wanted to make money, but it's because they were just passionate and they never gave up. If you look at even content creators, you realize someone has made so many videos before they even got their first, they started making their first, they got their first dollar. So it's good to understand that this survivorship bias is almost in every field, especially if the top people in that field make a lot of money. And it's always advisable to understand even those who failed doesn't mean they didn't do enough. You know, sometimes you can still try your best in a particular field and still not make it. Not everyone really makes it. Just because someone has really succeeded in something doesn't mean those who did not succeed never really tried. So understanding that distinction, it's always good to know when you're trying to understand this survivorship bias that we have when it comes to success in various fields. So my parting shot, as I conclude, I'd say it's good to, when you're analyzing a field that you want to get in, whether it's a business, whether it's a career, it's always good to look at both successful people and also those who did not succeed, those who did not make it, so that you don't just make every decision based on the people who have succeeded in that particular field. Then you'll have more information to make a better decision, and as you continue, if you still choose to continue with that decision, you'll have more information to understand what to avoid and what to do and when to do it. So thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of this episode. Please be keen to subscribe to my channel if you have not yet subscribed, and leave a comment for me in the comment section so that we can continue to interact more and grow together. Thank you for watching, and have a great day ahead.